There is a seed sitting in most health food stores right now that costs almost nothing per serving that researchers have been studying intensively for the past 2 decades because of what it does to human arteries. Not what it might do, not what it could theoretically do, what it has been shown to do in controlled clinical trials on real human beings. And the results are so consistent and so significant that several cardiologists have publicly stated that if this seed were a pharmaceutical drug, it would be one of the most prescribed medications in the world. But because it is a seed, and because nobody can patent a seed, the information about it never makes it into your doctor's office. You eat your breakfast every morning without it. Your arteries continue doing what they have been doing without it. And the damage continues silently. Today I am going to show you exactly what these seeds are, what they contain that your arteries desperately need, what happens inside your blood vessels over 30 days of eating just 1 spoon every morning, and what your arteries actually look like right now compared to what they could look like 30 days from today. Before I name the seeds, let me tell you what is actually happening inside your arteries right now, because most people have a completely wrong mental image of this. They picture their arteries like rigid pipes. Either the pipe is open or it is clogged. That is not how arterial disease works. Your arteries are living dynamic biological structures. They have 3 layers. The innermost layer is called the endothelium. It is a single cell thick, 1 cell thick, and it is the most important biological surface in your entire body. The endothelium is where everything begins and where everything ends when it comes to cardiovascular disease. When the endothelium is healthy, it produces a molecule called nitric oxide. Nitric oxide causes the artery wall to relax and dilate. It prevents platelets from clumping together and forming clots. It prevents inflammatory cells from sticking to the artery wall, and it prevents the smooth muscle cells of the artery from proliferating abnormally. A healthy endothelium is essentially the full-time manager of your entire cardiovascular system. And when the endothelium becomes damaged and dysfunctional through oxidative stress, inflammation, elevated blood sugar, or high levels of certain types of LDL cholesterol particles, the entire system starts to fail. Endothelial dysfunction is the very first step in the development of atherosclerosis. It begins silently, long before any symptom, long before any test catches it, and it begins in most people in their 20s and 30s. By the time someone has a heart attack in their 50s, the endothelial dysfunction and plaque formation that caused it has been progressing for 20 to 30 years. Now here is what the seeds do. The seeds I am talking about are flax seeds, specifically ground flax seeds, not whole flax seeds which pass through your digestive system largely intact. Ground flax seeds, 1 tablespoon every morning. And here is why flax seeds specifically have been studied more than almost any other food in relation to arterial health. Flax seeds contain 3 distinct compounds that each address a different mechanism of arterial disease simultaneously. The first is alpha-linolenic acid, ALA. Flax seeds are the single richest plant source of ALA on Earth. ALA is an omega-3 fatty acid, and it is the precursor to EPA and DHA, the fatty acids your body uses to reduce arterial inflammation, improve endothelial function, lower triglycerides, and reduce blood pressure. Multiple meta-analyses of clinical trials have shown that ALA from flaxseed significantly reduces C-reactive protein, which is the primary blood marker of systemic inflammation that drives atherosclerosis. One analysis covering over 50,000 people found that higher ALA intake was associated with a 14% reduction in cardiovascular disease risk. A 14% reduction from a seed. The second compound is lignans. Flax seeds contain 100 times more lignans than any other plant food. 100 times! Lignans are phytoestrogens that your gut bacteria convert into enterolactone and estradiol. These converted compounds are extraordinarily powerful antioxidants that specifically protect the endothelium. Studies on arterial endothelial cells exposed to lignan metabolites show dramatically reduced oxidative damage, reduced inflammatory cytokine expression, and improved nitric oxide production. In other words, lignans from flax seeds directly repair and protect the single cell layer that controls your entire cardiovascular system. Clinical studies have shown that flax seed lignans reduce LDL cholesterol by up to 15% and specifically reduce the small dense LDL particles, which are the ones that actually penetrate the endothelium and contribute to plaque formation. Total LDL on your standard cholesterol test is not the number that matters. Small dense LDL particle count is the number that matters, and flaxseed targets exactly that. The third compound is soluble fiber, specifically mucilage. When you eat ground flax seeds, the mucilage forms a viscous gel in your digestive tract. This gel binds to bile acids in your intestine and prevents their reabsorption. Your liver has to pull cholesterol from your blood to make new bile acids to replace the ones that were excreted. This directly reduces circulating cholesterol. It simultaneously slows the absorption of dietary carbohydrates, reducing post-meal blood sugar spikes, which reduces the glycation of LDL particles, which reduces a major driver of endothelial damage. 1 tablespoon of ground flaxseed delivers approximately 3 grams of this soluble fiber. In clinical trials, consistent soluble fiber consumption from flaxseed reduced total cholesterol by up to 10% and LDL by up to 15% within 8 weeks. Now let me tell you what 30 days of 1 tablespoon every morning actually does to your arteries based on the clinical evidence. In the first week, the anti-inflammatory effect of ALA begins reducing circulating inflammatory markers. C-reactive protein levels begin declining. The endothelium receives reduced inflammatory assault and begins recovering its nitric oxide production capacity. Blood pressure begins to drop slightly in people with elevated levels, typically by 2 to 5 millimeters of mercury within the first 10 days. This is significant. Every 2 millimeter reduction in systolic blood pressure reduces stroke risk by 10% and heart attack risk by 7%. In weeks 2 and 3, the lignan metabolites produced by your gut bacteria begin accumulating in your bloodstream. Small, dense LDL oxidation begins declining. The endothelium, which has been receiving oxidative damage daily, starts receiving protection instead. The dietary fiber begins altering your gut microbiome composition, increasing beneficial bacteria that produce short-chain fatty acids, which further reduce liver cholesterol production and systemic inflammation. In weeks 3 and 4, the cumulative effects become measurable in blood tests. Studies using flaxseed supplementation over this period consistently show reductions in total cholesterol, LDL cholesterol, triglycerides, and inflammatory markers simultaneously. The endothelium begins producing more nitric oxide, which improves arterial flexibility. An artery that was stiff begins to relax. Blood flows with less resistance. The heart pumps against lower pressure. By the end of 30 days, the research shows a consistent pattern. A study published in the Journal of Nutrition found that 30 grams of ground flaxseed daily for 30 days reduced total cholesterol by 12% and LDL by 15% in participants with high cholesterol. A study published in Hypertension found that 30 grams of ground flaxseed daily for 6 months reduced systolic blood pressure by 15 millimeters of mercury and diastolic blood pressure by 7 millimeters of mercury in hypertensive patients. These are numbers comparable to starting a blood pressure medication. Another study published in Nutrition Research found that flaxseed supplementation for 12 weeks reduced small dense LDL particle concentration by 25%. Small dense LDL by 25%. And a remarkable study published in Atherosclerosis found that flaxseed supplementation slowed the progression of atherosclerotic plaques in patients who already had established plaque in their carotid arteries. Not just stopped, slowed the progression. In people with existing arterial disease. Now, how you consume the flax seeds matters enormously. Whole flax seeds pass through your digestive system almost completely intact. The hull of a flaxseed is extraordinarily hard and your digestive enzymes cannot break through it. The ALA, the lignans, and the fiber inside are largely inaccessible unless the seed is ground. You must use ground flax seeds, also called flaxseed meal, to get the full benefit. You can grind whole flax seeds yourself in a coffee grinder and store them in an airtight container in the refrigerator for up to 1 week. Pre-ground flaxseed meal is also available, but should be refrigerated after opening and used within 4 weeks as the ALA oxidizes rapidly at room temperature when exposed to air. The dose that appears consistently across the clinical trials is 2 to 3 tablespoons per day. Starting with 1 tablespoon per day for the first week is advisable as the fiber content can cause bloating in people who are not accustomed to high fiber intake. By week 2, most people tolerate 2 to 3 tablespoons comfortably. How you add it matters less than whether you add it. You can stir it into yogurt. You can blend it into smoothies. You can stir it into oatmeal. You can mix it into water and drink it. You can add it to salad dressings. The ALA is sensitive to heat, so baking with flaxseed reduces the omega-3 content. though the lignans and fiber survive cooking. For maximum cardiovascular benefit, consume it uncooked. There is one important consideration. Flaxseeds contain a compound called phytic acid, which can reduce the absorption of zinc, iron, and calcium if consumed in very large amounts. At 2 to 3 tablespoons per day, this is not a clinical concern for most healthy adults, but individuals with established mineral deficiencies or those taking thyroid medications should consume flax seeds several hours apart from their medications, as the mucilage can also slow medication absorption. Here is what I want you to understand about why this information is not in your doctor's office. The food and supplement industry cannot patent flax seeds. There is no drug company funding large-scale awareness campaigns about a seed that costs pennies per serving. The research exists. It is peer-reviewed. It is published in the most respected cardiology and nutrition journals in the world. But peer-reviewed research does not automatically translate into clinical practice, especially when there is no commercial incentive driving the translation. Your doctor spends an average of 18 minutes with you per visit. The conversation about a seed is not happening. The conversation about a statin is happening. And statins have their place, but so does a tablespoon of ground flaxseed every morning. And one of these has a side effect profile that includes muscle damage, increased diabetes risk, and potential cognitive effects. The other one is a seed. Your arteries are not static. They are not simply open or clogged waiting for a catastrophic event. They are living tissue that responds to what you put into your body every single day. Every morning you have a choice. You can eat your breakfast without this one addition, or you can spend 30 days giving your endothelium the 3 specific compounds it has been asking for. The difference in what your arteries look like 30 days from now is real. The research proves it. The only question is whether you are going to act on it. Share this with someone whose heart you want to protect, because the information your cardiologist forgot to mention might be sitting in a bag at your local health food store for $3, and now you know exactly what to do with it.